Hello everybody, welcome to Bad Big Games. We talk about all things PlayStation games. I'm your host Joseph, and today we have some breaking news. That's why you don't see me on my set. Instead, we see some gameplay. That's not important. What is important is what Sony just did. Sony has pulled out of E3 2019. Next year's E3, PlayStation will not be attending. And please, before we begin this video, give a click to Kotaku. That's where I'm getting this information out of. That's where I got Sony's statement that states the following. As the industry evolves, Sony Interactive Entertainment continues to look for inventive opportunities to engage the community. Said Sony in a statement, PlayStation fans mean the world to us, and we always want to innovate, think differently, and experiment with new ways to delight gamers. As a result, we have decided not to participate in E3 in 2019. We are exploring new and familiar ways to engage with our community in 2019 and can't wait to share our plans with you. So what does that quote mean? I think it means a few things. A lot of people are pointing to the PlayStation 5. Don't worry, we'll talk about that in a minute. But I really think this is Sony understanding that they need to control the messaging. They want to control the narrative and the conversation. A few months back, Sony announced that they were canceling PlayStation Experience this year, PSX, and it bummed out a lot of fans, but they kind of went out and said, hey, listen, we don't want to just throw a convention to throw a convention and it be disappointing and half-assed. We want to make sure that you guys come to this thing and you're blown away by it. And them canceling E3 kind of shows me that they want to control a narrative. Like when you look at E3, it's a very archaic structure, right? It's so 90s, it's so 2000s, and I sound like an idiot when I say that, but it's true. It's a product of an older age. Now, when you look at companies like Apple, who just hold a press event in the middle of the week, they don't care. They're able to control the narrative. They have a whole entire day where they control the conversation, where it's all about them, it's all the pageantry, it's about celebrating what is awesome about Apple, and it's there to promote their products. It's kind of like what Nintendo does as well. They hold Nintendo Directs where it's just literally they can give you 2 days notice. They'll be like, hey, we have a Nintendo Direct coming out this Thursday, and all it is a video package of a whole bunch of games that are coming out in the next few months, or a game that they want to give a huge highlight towards, like we saw with Super Smash Brothers. We also see with Nintendo them going to E3 but in different ways. Like they don't have a traditional press conference. Instead, they have a big Nintendo Direct, a huge video package of what you should be excited about for the next year and the months to come. It's a controlled video where nothing could go wrong. Nothing's gonna just burst out on fire. Everything's gonna be controlled, and everything's all about Nintendo. You've even seen it with Microsoft. They pulled out of E3 last year, and they actually decided that they're going to hold their own conference away from E3 so that they have a controlled environment. It's all about them. We've seen it even with EA, them pulling out of E3 and having their own conference where it's all about them. E3, it's just sad to say, but it's changing. It's not the E3 that we once thought it was. It's going to be more consumer based. It's going to be kind of, I feel like in the next coming years, more like a Comic-Con for games, rather where all the big companies are going out there promoting their wares. Because if you're Sony, you're thinking about it like this. Why do I want to go to E3 and compete with Microsoft, compete with Nintendo, compete with EA, compete with Bethesda, compete with Ubisoft? Every single year, you have who is going to win E3. And when you don't win, when you're not the, when you're not the prom queen.
Carla was the prom queen.
Really?
Yeah.
You essentially just get lost in the conversation. No one cares, right? And if you lost E3, man, that's bad publicity for you. If something goes wrong on your stage, that is a bad publicity for you. And it has in the past, right? You saw with the Uncharted 4 first trailer that they showed, Nathan Drake got stuck in a wall and they had to redo the whole presentation. Same with Assassin's Creed Black Flag. The whole demo just died mid-demonstration. So I think if you're Sony, you're looking at it like, why do I want to go to E3? compete with all this noise, get lost in a conversation, when I have my own convention, PSX, with people who are coming to this convention just for me, just for my products, and hold a conversation where I own the conversation. I am a conversation, right? You're in the middle of December, in the beginning of December. There's nothing happening. It's still in the holiday season, but there are no new games coming out. There's no big announcements. So now we can just unveil, Last of Us, Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, the PlayStation 5, whatever the case may be. Now we own the conversation for not just the next day, but the next few days to come. So instead of being flooded with E3 coverage of all different sorts of games and being lost in the shuffle, you are the shuffle.
I am the one who knocks.
That's the awesome thing that I feel like Sony is getting out in this messaging. So is this the end of the world? No, I just think that this is the next evolution for E3. Now, does this mean that we're going to get the PlayStation 5 announced at PSX? Honest to God, it's been 5 years. At this point, if there's a PSX next year, it's 6 years. Yes, I think we're at that point where we can move along from the PlayStation 4 and into the PlayStation 5. It's even weird for me to say that, but it's true. I think that is a great moment where you're like, okay, hey guys, thank you guys for supporting us. Here's the next few games for the next 6 months, and here's something to really get you excited. We're announcing the PlayStation 5 in an audience that is there for them. And that's where the crowd's really gonna blow up. They want a moment like they did 5 years ago when they totally went and spanked Microsoft, where everybody was cheering for them. That's what they want. And even in this statement, they say, hey, if it doesn't turn out, it's just an experiment, right? They're just in their college days. They're just experimenting. So with that, yeah, I think this is awesome for PlayStation. This is their way to control a conversation. And yes, I do think this marks for bigger things to come. And I think we're going to get that PlayStation 5 announcement at next year's PSX. But at the end of the day, does this suck that they're not part of the E3 conversation? That's the question. That's the thing only time will tell. For me, I don't know necessarily. I think their absence will be felt, but I don't know until we actually see what happens at E3. So with that, I want to know what you think. Is this a mistake? Do you think it's a mistake for them not going to E3? Or do you think this is just the next evolution of marketing and of E3? Let me know in the comment section down below. So that's all I got. And here at Bad Bit Games, you usually get to see my ugly mug in the set behind me, but we always talk about PlayStation and games. So if you're into news like this, rants, first impressions, reactions, unboxings, or even a podcast made by the players for the players, a trophy room that premieres every single Thursday here on YouTube and podcast services around the globe, then please hit like, share, subscribe. It helps me out. It builds this big, beautiful family that I call home. And with all that said, and with all that out of the way, everyone, I love you so much. Keep your wits about you and have a nice one.